Women podcast, a podcast that delves deep into the Middlesbrough Women dressing room and chats to those playing, coaching and working within Middlesbrough Women Football Club. Today's guest is a definite fan favourite, despite only moving to the club 7 months ago, a wee Yorkshire lass who currently goes by the name of Rosie Todd. How are you doing, Rosie? Are you all right?
Hi, I'm good. Are you?
Yeah, I'm getting used to having conversations with you lot via Zoom these days, so nothing new for me, but I suppose best as I can be in this situation. Are you feeling the same?
Yeah, pretty much. I feel like I thought I'd become a master at Zoom, but with the way this has gone so far, obviously not.
Away from the screen, Rosie was delving from very, very loud to very, very quiet to non-existent. So we switched to a new Zoom room with a different bit of technology, and hopefully this all goes well. We'll start straight from the top. I kind of hoped, and I think we both hoped, that there was going to be an FA Cup tie that we could discuss, and maybe even a league game against Sheffield coming up. As it is, that hasn't happened, as people know. So our last game was actually a 3-2 defeat at Huddersfield, who are obviously top on the table at the moment. Before we get into the game, I had loads of people that day messaging the page and me, asking how you were, like during the game, after the game, in the immediate aftermath. For the people who don't know, and I'm sure most do, you were taken off with concussion. Let's just say you looked a little bit white. It's been almost 3 weeks since the game. I'm sure there's plenty of people that are concerned still. How are you feeling?
Yeah, that's so much better. I mean, just to say, like, thanks to everyone that messaged me or messaged the club or stuff like that, and especially the staff at Boro and the staff at Huddersfield as well. Like, I was treated like unbelievably well and looked after. So I massively appreciate that. But yeah, I feel so much better. This has been the week where I've finally been allowed to do exercise again. So gradually getting back into it and stuff, and I haven't felt ill. And I managed to have Christmas as well. But yeah.
How long did I don't want to say after effects, but I suppose I can't think of any other way to describe it. Like, because you were pretty unwell, shall we say, on the day. You looked white as a sheet. You had like your little blanket thing around you and stuff.
I think I started feeling better. Well, not I say better, but a lot better than I was. Probably Christmas Eve. So about 5 days afterwards. But yeah, I remember at the time felt absolutely horrendous, and I mean I got just plied with like hot chocolate and stuff, so I can't really complain. But yeah, I mean I was in hospital and then out of hospital but I couldn't believe how long the effect actually lasted. I thought I'll be better in the morning, but it absolutely knocked me for 6.
Do you know when you watch the footage back, because Huddersfield had a camera behind the goal, obviously I had my camera at a distance, and in a really weird way, it all just looked like you just had a big pylon. Like, it didn't look like there was any collision that I could see directly, despite pausing it, resuming it, and looking at it and stuff like that. So what do you actually remember of the moment?
It sounds really weird, but like thinking back, I remember, I mean, this is going to sound really like petty, but I know for a fact it wasn't a corner, but
It definitely wasn't a corner.
No, it wasn't. But when I've looked back at Huddersfield's footage, it sort of like helped a bit, because it shows like Foster. I think Foster headed the back of my head, which knocked me into the front of, I think, Millie Bell or something along those lines. But because it was such a crowded area, I think it was so hard to actually see what really happened. But it was just like a massive free-for-all in the end.
Yeah, because I mean, it was because we were obviously watching it from the opposite side to where you were down. So Foster being on the ground actually covered you. So I didn't even notice you were down until I noticed there was no yellow shirt anywhere to be seen. And then gradually you got to your feet, and I was like, hang on, I think our total defence has got injured here. Whilst we're on it, kudos to Millie Bell. It's not the first time I've seen Millie go on goal. But I don't know whether you've seen it because you'll not remember it, but how good was that save where like the header, I think it was Sarah Dandy, put the header across, definitely going in the other corner, reaction save, palmed over the bar. Are you a little bit worried that you might not get back in the team when we can play again?
Oh, 100%. I mean, she did well, to be fair. Like, I'd heard good things about Millie going in goal and that, but I hadn't actually, and I couldn't even watch her as well. So it was like I was sat sat on a sofa, like you said, covered in blankets and that, and I just had like Josh and Susanna going, "Oh, Millie's made a great save." They just kept going, "Oh, I'm not sure you're going to get back in this team, Rosie." I was just like, well, I can't even watch it. So, but then looking back at the footage, like she did really well, to be fair. Like, yeah, fair play to her.
I think she's getting experience since I've been at Boro, which is now officially just over a year. I've seen Millie in goal 3 times. Once for the reserves when you couldn't play for the first team in the first pre-season friendly. She played against Derby when our old goalkeeper and captain Laura was unwell, and when you basically got wiped out, shall we say? What in the aftermath of that? Because I didn't actually see you, because obviously I was filming and everyone's attention was sort of on the game. So what happened? Did you get taken anywhere, or did you just get sat on the couch and sort of looked after as best it could be?
I was sat in the bench, but then Huddersfield have very strict COVID rules about only having a certain amount of people in the dugout. So I couldn't. So we had to go inside. But I just couldn't. One thing I really remember is I just couldn't get warm, and I was in, and so I had like 2 foil blankets on. I had like 2 coats on, a hat, a scarf, gloves, like. And then Josh walked me upstairs, and I just sat on the sofa and I just pretty much sat shivering, and that's like pretty much all I remember.
I remember like the main concern obviously being for yourself, and cause Foster had got up and watched some of the game and stuff like that. And Foster came over at the end and I says, "Oh, Foster, are you all right?" I says, you seem like you didn't come off too well, but you're walking about and stuff like that." She was like, "I think I might have broke my nose." I was like, "I don't think so." And then she looked at me dead on and she pointed at her nose and it seemed like it was on the other side of the face. And I was like, "Oh, okay, fair enough." She's like, "I think I might have broke my nose." But did we get any confirmation on that? Has Foster broken a nose, or was it just a pretty heavy bump?
I think she broke it. I'm pretty certain she broke it. I mean, I just remember looking at her going, like, she was sat opposite me for a bit and I was just like, I think she sat and just had a bovril or something like that. And I was just sat, it happened, and then she drove me back. So
Foster's quite indestructible though. She had an injury last season at Sunderland away and she was down for literally 15 minutes. And all jokes aside, we were seriously concerned. And there was obviously fans at the game then, and my girlfriend and my mum was at the game, and they were saying, "Is she all right? Is she okay?" And I'm texting back and I'm saying, "I don't know. I think it's concussion. I think she might hurt her neck. We're a bit worried, but I'll update you when I can. Like, hopefully we'll get some news." And literally 2 minutes later, she just stuck a neck brace on and sat next to me in the dugout and was like, "All right, mate." And I was just like, "Foster, like, for God's sake." And she almost was fit, I think, for the game after, because it was a neck injury. Which was Derby, but I think we said no. On the game itself, one of the probably big talking points of it, and obviously I know it's changed a little bit because of the situation, but Molly Holders recently joined the club, scored on her debut in that game, which I think you missed, unfortunately. But if people didn't know, you're someone who's grown up with Molly, you are best friends, you've been through numerous same clubs at a long time. Not only what can she bring to Middlesbrough as a player, but what can she bring as a person?
well, yeah, I think what was more frustrating for me with the whole head injury was the fact that it was Mol's debut. She scored, and I wasn't on the pitch to even go and celebrate with her. And that's one thing I kept saying at the end. I was like, "Hey, how have I not come and celebrated you for that?" But yeah, me and Mol, we met when we were like 8 and like playing football, and this was the first year that since then we haven't played in the same team. So having her come to the club is like, it's class. She's probably one of the hardest working players that I've ever played with and that I know of. Always wants the ball as well, which is a huge positive, and is really good at communicating with especially with like the midfield. And with her being a coach as well, she's very good at telling people where to go. Like, she doesn't shy away from that, even being new and stuff. So I think she'll be a real asset, and I'm buzzing to have her back.
I think one of the big things about her as well is that she's 22, so she's obviously really, really young. But from a footballer's perspective, I think she made her debut for Huddersfield when she was 16 in the same division. She's been at Durham for years. she comes with like an absolute mountain of experience, and I've only seen her in the 2 games because obviously she played against us in pre-season. But you mentioned she was really vocal there, and she likes to tackle as well, doesn't she?
Oh yeah, there's been times when I've played with her and she'll just get stuck in, like she's not afraid, and that's, I think that's a key thing to have in a team and as a player, because someone who's just like brave and doesn't shy away from things you just need, and as well as someone who'll just get up and be like, oh well, and just get on with it.
My abiding memory of Molly, which is quite funny, we might as well let people in on a secret here, but some people might have seen there was a tackle from Rebecca Bass, our captain Bassy, in pre-season against Durham, and it was a hefty challenge, shall we say, and that is Bassy. That's the way she is, but no one ever goes back at Bassy because everyone respects her. She's tough as old boots, and you very rarely see anyone go back at her. But Molly was the first person I ever seen that actually ran over to Bassy and was like, "What are you doing?" And it was like, it was a sister though, wasn't it? It was Molly's sister that actually got the other end of Bassy.
Yeah, it was Jess. I remember seeing. I knew straight away. I was like, "Oh God, Mol's gonna kick off here." I was just like, "What do I do here? Do I?" Because obviously I'm good friends with Jess as well. I was like, "Do I go over? Do I stay?" I think I sat there and I was just like, put my head in my hands and tried to not get involved.
Bassy is respectful as ever, though. As tough as she is, straight away, it's like, I'm sorry, accident. And I think that's Bassy all over, isn't she? Respectful, professional, but tough as old boots.
Yeah.
Discussing the Huddersfield game, we're still on that, but I don't want to move away too far. It was a match that, and I can only describe it as a fan. For me, it was a defeat, but there was something different about the performance that day. We lost our most experienced centre half. We lost our goalkeeper. Millie went in goal. The last time that happened, we lost quite heavily when we got a lot of injuries, which was following the Sunderland game last season. We had Foster, Liv, Leonie, the goalkeeper, Laura Wareham at the time. We went in with a lot of injuries and unfortunately lost quite heavily. We were playing against a side in Huddersfield that have won 7 games in a row. And yeah, they won 8th, but we pushed them really close. And I think a lot of people within the ground that day said you deserved a point from that, which was completely against the odds based on maybe our form, our league position, and the injuries that we had as well. The fact that we've lost a couple of players. We lost our top scorer, obviously moving to Italy and Tyler. There was more than just the injuries on the day. We've brought Jaden in as well. She obviously wasn't part of the squad that day, but there's been a few new faces. And I know that Hannah and Elle are soon to go back to America, unfortunately, because of the situation. We haven't been able to utilise that as much as we want to. But there definitely seemed to be a shift in mood in that day. And there definitely seems to be a shift in mood from the training videos that we've seen. How positive has the period been since like the Loughborough game up until maybe last week before the lockdown came in place?
I think a lot of people probably expected, with obviously Dan going and Tyler going, that we were probably, people would have gone, oh, they're a team that can easily beat, or things like that now. But I think for us, we knew that we maybe had to work that little bit harder now. And from there, I think the spirit lifted massively. And just even the win, like you said, like the spirit on the bus after the Loughborough game was unbelievable. Like everyone was buzzing. And then going into the Huddersfield game, I think we all realised like they just won something like 8-1 or something the previous week. And we were aware of that. We were very aware, but we were also aware that like when we did our team talk in the middle, Bassy spoke, and I just sort of said to everyone, and that, so we all have the potential. Like each one of us is talented, and we have to understand that and do it for each other and forget their previous results, forget players that have gone. But now we just have to use the talent we've got and just like give everything. And the spirit since then, and like you said, even though we lost, I think we deservedly could have got a point out of that, looking back at the footage and stuff. And then going into like the beach training we did over Christmas, I think you can just tell from the videos, like, I wish you were there, Graham, because like you can't even describe it. It was just such a laugh. Like everyone, it was a laugh, but people were putting the work in as well, and everyone was just like buzzing. Like they probably only way to describe it was like the buzzing feeling.
I think the one thing that I'm noticing as well about the team, and it's why it's such a shame that we don't even know when we're next going to play, is that a lot of the signings that have came in the summer, Ollie being a big one, Cass, yourself, there's players there that maybe came in the first few weeks. I would not say any of them were quiet, but you do take time to adjust to your teammates, the way your team plays, your management, your coaching. Alongside the likes of Bassi and the players who've been here a long time, like Foster, it really seems like the likes of yourself, Ollie, Cass, are coming to the fore as being real sort of pivotal people within the whole squad. Do you think that it just took that little bit of settling in time, and now like your influence and Cass's influence and Ollie's influence and experience is coming into the squad and obviously benefiting us? Does it feel like that as a player?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. I mean, I think for me personally, having been at Durham for 5 years, I was so comfortable there. Like, and I think it was going from a place at Durham where I was like, everyone knew me, and like I could very much be myself and stuff like that. And then coming out, pushing myself out my comfort zone to come to a club where really I only knew Steph and Bassett, and Eve a little bit as well. And because I was so comfortable at Durham, it was so different. So it took me a little bit longer probably than the likes of Cass and Ollie. But I also feel like in some ways that's helped because it's given time for me to get to know them to get to know me. And now we're all, like you said, Cass and Ollie as well, are probably a lot more vocal and can be the jokey people, but at the same time, we will be serious in the team talk or in training and stuff like that. And I like to think people respect us as well, but I hate to think what people say otherwise.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. And I think just going back to the signing of Molly, I think that just adds to the atmosphere in the team and again, I'm looking at it from a completely sort of outside perspective because it's been so long since I've really had time with you outside of Zoom and that one particular game. But there's definitely a shift in the camp. And I think that result at Loughborough really helped. But then you had Dan and Tyler's left directly after that, which you could take as a huge blow. And it was, good players, good people. But we seem to have recovered from that and came back even stronger. And I think that's exactly what you want, isn't it? As a club, you want to come back stronger and not let the setbacks hold you back too much. And definitely we've been taking the positives, and there's been plenty of them.
Yeah, I think it helps as well that there are so many talented players in the Boro squad that no one's made to feel that they're less than anyone else as well. So everyone plays their part and everyone knows that they play their part. So even if it's like Jazz, who is probably less serious than other people, but knows how to bring a group of people together and have a laugh and cheer people up. And so, I mean, or it's Bassi who's giving everyone a talking to because we haven't performed and stuff like that. Everyone plays their own part, and people understand who plays what part as well now, and that I think that brings that team, that cohesion, massively together.
Jazz is what I would class as the jester of the club, if I'm honest with you. Like, I was on TikTok, I don't even use TikTok, and I got sent a TikTok over the other day of a bouncing on a spot and then diving at the camera. I didn't even understand what it was about, but I was laughing for a solid sort of 5 minutes. But you're right in what you're saying. Everyone has their own components, I think, that they are sort of bringing to the fore, and no one's above or below anyone else. And, I spoke about Cass and I spoke about yourself and I spoke about Ollie. The players who've maybe not played every single week, the likes of Eve, Sav, who also returned to the club in the summer after a couple of seasons away, they brought loads to the fore as well. They're bringing it and they're setting a standard as well, aren't they? It's not just the players that are playing 90 minutes week in, week out. Those that are maybe on the fringes or maybe getting a game not as often as they would like are really bringing stuff to the fore as well. There's no complaining there, is there? That everyone's in it together.
No, not all. And that's, I think, another good thing is that like our 12 man is like those on the bench or at training, because without their positivity as well, like the team wouldn't be as like together as it is now. They do play a massive part, and it's understanding as well, I think. And Steph's very good at explaining to people maybe why you're on the bench this week, or why you're not, or why you're starting this week. So people understand rather than sat on the bench like, I don't know why I'm not playing. No one spoke to me. They all know why and the reasons for it and stuff like that. So
the only thing I would say with Sav is I don't want her to ever make a substitution again. The way that she launched Eve over the pole. So if you're listening, Sav, that was dangerous.
that's one of the funniest things. That definitely cheered me up when I laid in bed.
If anyone hasn't seen it, it's tremendous. When you get injured, Rosie, we need to bring on obviously Eve so we can put Millie in goal, and Eve's ready to come on, and she kind of launches herself up over the sort of barrier at the top because you couldn't have the substitutes because of the COVID rules. They couldn't be in the dugout, so they were all outside of it. And Sav just inexplicably decides to just spin her over the bar and just push her over. I was quite impressed by Eve's reflexes there, though. I thought maybe Eve should have just went in goal if that's how good her reflexes are. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, like when I was feeling so like ill afterwards, and you sent me the clip or you posted the clip or something, and honestly, it killed me. And that, I think, sounds really stupid, but little things like that, like having you find those things and post them in the group chat and stuff, I think it's another way of bringing people together, because it's like even the staff are all part of the team as well, and it's class.
Yeah, no, it's been, and that brings me to sort of the next bit of the questions or podcast that I wanted to ask, is that we're discussing that sort of stuff and how much positivity there's been, and I think because of the way the world is at the moment, since the start of the season, we've all tried to be like that. There's been difficult moments this season, but the past, should we say 2 games or 2 months, as some people might say, because we've only played 2 games in the best part of 7 weeks as we speak, and it looks like it's going to be that for the foreseeable. We've hit a point in the season where we actually can't even train, which is a bit of an odd one. So going into this season, I think, I could be wrong with this, I should probably check it, but I'm sure we're 8 games in, league games. We had about 7 pre-season fixtures, so it's a lot of bonding time, but not a great deal of time on the pitch, in truth, now that we're in January. We've had 2 stoppages. One was for 4 weeks, which was quite difficult. Now we have a stoppage for, we don't know how long, after last season was completely null and void in March. So how hard has it been this entire period to go through not even being able to train and seeing maybe the division above doing absolutely everything like a normal football club would? How hard is it to see that, and how hard is it to keep your head up?
Yeah, it's not the easiest situation. I mean, it's a hard one because, like you said, you can see other people training and have the money to, like, the league's providing the money and stuff to have testing and also. So in some ways, like, it's real. I don't know. It's a really hard situation because you understand why in some ways, but in other ways, it's like very frustrating. And I think one good thing that we've got is the support staff around Boro as well. Like, we're given so much stuff to do and keep going with, and even though it's not the same as being together, I know we've got like Zoom sessions planned and quizzes and stuff to try and keep that level of cohesion quite high. And you're never going to be able to keep it the same as training and stuff, but we've just got to do what we can, and if that's filling in wellness every morning, to just have that monitored by support staff, then we do that just to ensure everyone's okay and doing what they can. But I think one of the main things that we've learned is that we have to keep talking to each other and understand which teammates are potentially struggling, which ones are coping really well, and trying to essentially patch them two together to help each other out.
Yeah, I was going to say that the mental aspect of it is huge, because I think there's been plenty of this spoken about in the media, and been able to watch football, although I absolutely hate it. I prefer being at the game. I've been at games since I was about 4 years old. So for me, TV's nice in the background. I like being in the heart of it. I haven't seen my men's team since March, so approaching a year. And I've been very, very lucky to do Boro, much more lucky than some people. But there is a mental element of it where if you're sat in the house all day and you're not doing what you love, for me, it's doing media, it's doing stuff like this. For yourself, it's playing in goal, it's training, it's doing what you do on a regular basis. that can sort of weigh in your mind because you have all this time in the day where you'd normally be training and playing, where you no longer are. And that, I think we'd be naive to say that that doesn't take an effect on the mental health of a football player or whatever area it is that you do in life. So when it comes to, you talked about extra things that you're doing and stuff like that as well, how positive has it been having Greg, Tom, Josh, Steph, Chris, the entire coaching staff be on hand to be able to sort of check how you are mentally every week? Because we do that as well, don't we? We check how the players are mentally as well as physically.
I think it's massive. Like, it shows how good the support Boro provide for all the players as well. Like, just having with my concussion and stuff, I must have had messages every day from staff to ensure I was okay. And then even now they know I'm okay. Greg will drop me a message just to say, how you feeling, how you finding things, like. And it sounds really stupid, but sometimes if you're at home and you're working, just having a message to say, how are you today? Like, it can lift your spirits massively, and not having that opportunity to get together and train and have a laugh and stuff, and it is massively different to everything else, and going on a run on your own and comparing your run to others on Strava or whatever. So just having that communication and with each other just to try and keep ourselves going is like, it's massive.
Do you know, when it comes to, I mean, there's a few friends that I have that will watch men's football, and it's almost taken for granted that it's on the TV. And obviously I'm a Sunderland fan, so my team continues to play. Now, Sunderland are tier 3. Sorry, not tier 3. Well, we are tier 3, but I mean by the leagues, League One, should I say. I'm not used to saying tiers and levels. So we're a League One team, which is obviously the third level of men's football. Exactly the same level as what Middlesbrough are at the moment. Now, the Championship are playing, the Premiership are playing, WSL are playing, the Women's Championship are playing. So there's a lot of levels that are continuing playing. So I suppose watching men's football across the top 4 levels continue, the top 2 of the Women's League continue, while our level can't even train. And we haven't really been able to consistently since about the beginning of November, when the second lockdown came in. Although everyone's got a difficult situation, there's a lot of sacrifices we have to make. How fair do you think the situation is that some can and some can't in football? It's not a one rule for one.
Yeah, I think money plays a huge part in it, with the difference between men and women, but it is really hard, especially like when you look at the FA Cup and stuff. Obviously, we were going to play Hull, but it's classed as non-elite at this stage, so we couldn't play. Whereas when that was the case for the men, they brought the elite stages earlier or something, so which allowed them to then keep playing. And then you look at us, that where you've seen on Twitter, there's been rumours of it's going to be done by a flip of a coin, and you just think, like, how can you even justify that in any sense would happen in the men's, or would even relate to anything that would occur in the men's game? So you can't necessarily say too much about getting in trouble and stuff, but there's still a way for us to go, I think.
Yeah, and it feels like that. And again, you have to be very careful what we both see here. But there is a level of frustration that it seems that sometimes, and this is me speaking from my own personal viewpoint, not Middlesbrough's or players or anything like that, sometimes it feels like our league has been stopped a little bit too easily for me when others have fought tooth and nail to have things going forward. But hopefully I can be proven wrong. On the subject of the toss of a coin, I completely disagree with it. Unless we win every toss and win the FA Cup, then I'm completely on board with it. So if the people are listening, if you can get us to the final by just flipping the coin, that I'm all right with that. I'm okay. I'm completely fine with that. No, on a serious note, I wouldn't be. I think it would be horrendous. But one thing that really stuck out for me this week, I follow Helen Ward, who's obviously at Watford Women at the moment. Helen's obviously had a really decorated career, playing for Wales at a really high level, playing for Reading. She's been in the WSL, great striker. As far as I'm aware, from what I know, she wanted to play for a few years longer, and she certainly could do. Watford doing well in their own division and did well last season. But she tweeted this week that she's considering retiring due to the problems of the season, the fact that she's got to be a mum, she's not allowed to train, she's got to train on her own, and she simply doesn't know if she has time in the day. And there was a big sort of outcry from a lot of fans and a lot of Wales fans, Watford fans, Reading fans, people who'd known Helen and said, like, please don't do it. Like, you're such an important player and so on and so forth. But Helen's someone who's played for a long, long time, really well known, and there'll be a lot of people that will be really, really disappointed for that to happen. There'll be a lot of young players, though, that don't have the same level of recognition. They might not be as open as that, as saying they feel that way. Do you ever worry that the situation, the fact that it just basically you stop from even training, that potentially we could lose even more younger players and lose as well as experienced players because of the situation? Not Middlesbrough, like football as a whole.
Yeah, for sure. I think because when you're training, you've got a team around, like, you're surrounded by players that you're motivating each other, like, you're having a laugh, like, you're together as a team. And when you have to train at home on your own or with one other person, like, I think that's what the rules are, but it's so hard to keep that level of motivation when you haven't necessarily got Tom or Josh, your running session at the end, for example. If you haven't got Tom and Josh pushing you on or something like that, it's sometimes hard to be like, oh, why am I doing this when we don't even know when we're going to be back, sort of thing. And I think understanding that, it's hard because you haven't got that team around you. So I think a lot of people will struggle with it, and others will struggle more than other people. Yeah, I think it's bound to happen, and obviously it's not something that we want to happen. And that's something where it's about finding out which of your teammates are finding it hard, which of them are coping all right, and trying to be there for each other and support them and dropping them a text or whatever just to try and keep them going. But yeah.
As I said in the intro, you've been here a short time in essence compared to some players like Bassie, Foster and whatnot. But I think whether you'll admit to it or not, you are a bit of a fan favourite. There's a couple of Todd #1 shirts I've seen at the games and stuff like that. So let's just say you've settled in perfectly in a way. But how would you sum up your time at the club so far on a positive side?
Do you know what? Like I touched on before, I said leaving Durham was one of the probably hardest decisions that I ever had to make, and Steph will vouch for it. There was a few tears, I think, shared on a few phone calls, but it's honestly been the best decision I think I could have made. And people ask me all the time, they're like, did you enjoy it? Are you glad you made the move? And like, genuinely, I can't complain. I mean, didn't expect the season to be so stop-start as such, but I've just loved every minute of it. I don't think there's been a time where I've not come home from training and been buzzing or not. And just like when we lose, like the feeling I get, like I'm so gutted that we've lost, and then the hype of winning and stuff, like I've just loved every second of it. There's no other way of really describing it, but yeah.
I suppose we're hoping there's going to be many more favourite moments, but if you were to choose a favourite moment, what would it be so far?
Ooh. I would go for either the Tyler's goal at Loughborough, where we all celebrated and I ran down the pitch to celebrate, and then we got told off with Chris. Or do you know what? Or the beach training, because it was just so nice. Obviously, I couldn't join in, so I took a step back and was doing a lot of the media stuff, like for you, and
don't give my secrets away.
Just sometimes listening to the sound of people laughing. And
I'm saying, don't give my secrets away.
What did you say?
You said you filming for the media stuff. It's just that was all my doing. That was.
But nah, like just seeing everyone laughing and smiling and just that togetherness again was a proper good feeling as well. And having, but then I was going to say, then having Mole join as well, so I can't really pick.
Was that not your concussion? Was that not your favourite moment?
Can't remember.
I got to be honest. The moment Tyler scored, yes, there was a hilarious moment, and you can hear it on the celebrations of Chris knee slided on the pitch as we scored. Chris, obviously assistant manager, and I think he'd done his knee as he did it because he's got a bit of a dodgy knee. I wish I'd caught it on camera, but I can't lie. I was in with the Loughborough fans that day, and when that goal went in, I kind of ran about 10 to 20 yards along like the stand at the same time celebrating, and then had to compose myself. So unfortunately I didn't catch that. As you'll notice, the camera doesn't actually move when that goal goes in. I celebrate myself, but yes, that was one of the more positive moments, which unfortunately was only our second last game, but fingers crossed we can get back into it. When we do get back into it, when, hopefully we all have a pint of the vaccine, and we get back to playing regular football, do you think that Middlesbrough are starting to show the potential that we obviously evidently have?
Massively, yeah. Like, I think with the spirits being quite high, and I think when we return to training, we can make sure that the spirits are still high. And I think, like I said, the potential of individuals as well as the team is so huge. And I think people, with our position in the table at the moment, I think people probably don't respect us as much as expected, and stuff like that. But massively, I was going to say that if when we come back, I would walking on sunshine, but
tell everyone your inside joke. Tell everyone your inside joke now that we're here. You might as well get it out.
I was just trying to get as many song titles in this podcast, but I bottled it. I just had to get that one in there, but I've got no regrets.
Whose idea was that? Because this is someone's trying to stitch me up. I need to know who the enemy in the camp is. So who's trying to stitch me up?
Can't disclose that sort of information.
Leone. I'm going to say Leone.
No. When we're back training, we're back for good.
Oh my God! Like, I think I would love to stay with you another day, but as it is, I'm going to.
It would be the greatest day.
And on that, I think we're going to close, Rosie. Thanks for your time.
No worries. Thanks for listening.